Coming up, Iowa cancer survivors continue to rise.
Free of charge, Iowa City celebrates arts and culture.
A new coach's impact on the Hawkeyes.
50-50, warmer weather presses on.
All that and more.
Coming up right now on DITV.
Good morning from Iowa City. It is Wednesday, February 26th. I'm Isabel Thier.
And I'm Johnny Valtman.
And the third member of our team, Ryan Lynch, is live outside to tell us today's weather story.
Now, Ryan, it has just been too nice out. Do we think it's going to last for a while?
Yes, guys, it is going to last for a bit, and I am live out here by the Stanley Art Museum. The weather is currently 38 degrees, but it will be looking to warm up today with a high of about 51 degrees, but will drop back down to the mid and low 30s tonight. And tomorrow we'll see similar temperatures with another day in the 50s. And it will be relatively cloudy in that time frame, but the top temperatures will be giving us some more warm weather. And right now it is fairly cloudy, but there should not be any rain for today or tomorrow. And there may be some more variance in these temperatures later in the week, which I'll have more the week ahead later. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Ryan. The annual report of cancer throughout the state of Iowa was released yesterday.
We have DITV's Jake Rios live outside the College of Public Health with what they found.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, the Iowa Cancer Report revealed that despite Iowa having the second highest rate of cancer in the country and one of the fastest growing rates, that the longer cancer diagnosis and evolving cancer treatments have actually led to an increase in cancer survivors.
Cancer survivors face many ongoing issues related to not only their cancer diagnosis, but their cancer treatment.
22% of cancer survivors among Iowa residents suffered from breast cancer and 18% suffered from prostate cancer, the two most common statewide. Johnson County cancer survivors made up less than 5% of the county's population, with over 6,000 survivors. The number of cancer survivors is growing, with an estimated 170,000 survivors currently living in Iowa.
Given a high and increasing rate of new cancers coupled with a decline in cancer mortality, we anticipate the number of cancer survivors in Iowa will continue to grow substantially over time.
The registry estimates there will be 21,000 new cases of cancer among Iowa residents in 2025, with the majority being breast and prostate cancer. Johnson County residents are estimated to receive 750 new cases of cancer, greater than the state's average. With new cases of cancer continuing to rise, so are the standards for survivorship care to help Iowa cancer survivors.
I needed more than just smiles. I needed more than just happy to see you. I crave constant reassurance and emotional support. Building a strong support system was going to be vital for my fight against cancer.
The report hopes to help improve survivorship across the state, as well as improve the quality and length of life for those surviving cancer. From the College of Public Health, Jake Rios, DITV.
Iowa City Council candidate Ross Nusser has a legal claim against his property to pay off previous tax debt and a lawsuit for unpaid property taxes of more than $75,000. Nusser's legal claim for his residence in Iowa City was filed in October 2018 for the amount of $54,910 in unpaid taxes. In a conversation with the Daily Iowan, Nusser said the debt, unpaid taxes, and lawsuit filed by American Express were because of his divorce proceedings in 2018.
Iowa City's mayor and several citizens protested a new bill that passed through the Iowa legislature on Monday.
DITV's Felicity Menning is in the newsroom with more information.
Thanks, guys. Mayor Bruce Teagues traveled to Des Moines to oppose a bill that would remove civil rights protections from transgender Iowans. These rights at risk include protection from discrimination in employment, housing, education, public accommodations, and credit. This bill would also place restrictions that would impact birth certificates and restroom use for transgender individuals. Iowa lawmakers have also progressed a bill that would ban all diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in Iowa. This bill would prohibit all DEI positions, training, and policies in Iowa cities and counties. This bill follows President Trump's pursuit to end DEI programs nationwide. While the bill is pending, this push could end all diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in Iowa. Back to you guys in the studio.
The state of Iowa is one of 7 states in the U.S. that does not offer reciprocity for out-of-state students. DITV's Cole Kruger has the story of how out-of-state students feel regarding their tuition.
Reciprocity allows students to pay lower tuition at colleges that are outside their home state. For example, Iowa's neighboring states of Wisconsin and Minnesota share that benefit.
I know in-state people from Iowa pay a lot less than I do.
Some University of Iowa students have expressed their frustration with the high price of tuition.
My roommate, for example, is paying for it herself, so I think that has a big impact on her time. I know she spends a lot of time at work and doesn't have a scholarship. So I didn't get any financial aid from FAFSA or the school.
While the price of tuition is certainly high, some students express their gratitude to receiving financial aid from the university.
I have a work-study grant, so I work in the dining hall and I get some financial aid for doing that.
Paying for college is a struggle for any student, but these students have some ideas for how the university can help students in need.
I think more scholarship opportunities would be great. I know I personally applied for the general scholarship application and I didn't receive any of them.
I know that there's a lot of scholarships that people will get, but I think merit scholarships is a huge thing that helps a lot of students, and a lot of students really deserve it.
Since Iowa is one of the few states in the U.S. that doesn't offer reciprocity, a large portion of the student body here at the University of Iowa has had to pay a high price. From the University of Iowa, Cole Krieger, DITV News.
Iowa City wrapped up their free arts festival where participating venues held events free of charge. DITV's Hannah Lipsky ran around downtown to catch some of the festivities.
Downtown Iowa City is home to the Ped Mall, which holds nightclubs, restaurants, and boutiques. But it also holds the cultural and entertainment designation for Iowa City. This past week, X Marks the Arts hosted the first ever Free Week Arts Festival in the Cultural and Entertainment District. The initiative aims to create a premier arts and entertainment destination.
We're always looking for things to do in the winter, and it's typically a little slower season for some of our venues, so to throw a whole bunch of exciting programming that people can be a part of is a really great thing for people to come out and experience.
Even with the freezing temperatures, people still came to events ranging from readings, interactive activities, and live performances. The week began Tuesday with story time and singing in the Children's Library.
Instead of being the warehouse of books, we are a community and an activity center where everyone can come together.
And continued through Saturday, including showings of the film We Always Come Here about the history of the Ped Mall. Ending the weekend with live performances across several venues, the university even hosted events at the Theater Building with 10-Minute Play Festival and at the Natural Museum of History for a silent disco.
And anytime we can sort of rethink the space and bring it to life in new, fun, and exciting ways, we know that that's going to be a hit with families, students, and community members.
Legislation has been flying from the state and national levels, targeting arts and culture like book bannings, drag shows, and marginalized communities. The celebration of arts highlighted and gave these groups a platform.
Our community is aware of the bills and the legislation that's out, and they do go out of their way to say, we support you, we're here.
The community's engagement encourages these initiatives and reinforces the importance of art, entertainment, and culture in communities like Iowa City. From the Iowa City Cultural and Entertainment District, Hannah Lipsky, DITV.
And coming up later, a look at the week's forecast.
And a deep look into Hawkeye sports.
All that and more
right after the break.
In Iowa City, history is being made every day. DITV is capturing it all: politics, sports, and art. Local, state, and nationwide. In front of the camera, behind the scenes, DITV.
DITV.
DITV. DITV. DITV.
DITV Sports.
DITV. DITV
is capturing history.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in on thedailyiowan.com or listening on KRUI 89.7 FM.
Now let's go back to Ryan, who is live outside with a look at the rest of the week in weather.
Yes, guys, looking for the week ahead. Friday will likely see the highest temperatures with it being partly cloudy, with a high of about 62 degrees and the low will reach around 32 degrees. Temperatures should be dropping as we officially get into the weekend, however, with Saturday only having a high of about 38 degrees and the low will be about 23 degrees. And Sunday should see it warm back up on the start of a trend, with a slightly higher high at 43 degrees and a low at about 20 degrees. Monday should see this continue as the high will get to about 50 degrees and a low of about 31 degrees. Tuesday should be even warmer, but the skies will probably not be as clear. And there should be some rain on Friday with the high at 54 degrees and low at 38 degrees. I'm looking forward to this more warm weather, but it will be a bit chilling for a bit. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Ryan. And I know, Johnny, for myself, I've been enjoying this nice t-shirt weather.
It has been wonderful weather. It was actually nice to walk into school yesterday. And as the temperatures get warm, so do Hawkeye Sports. We're going to send it over to Sam Capri with Hawkeye Sports.
Thanks, guys. A lot of big things to discuss midweek in sports. This season, the Iowa women's basketball coaching staff made changes other than just head coach Jan Jensen. DITV's Colin Carruthers was able to sit down with Iowa's new coach and hometown hero, Randy Henderson.
My goal throughout all my coaching has never really changed. I am in it to make people better.
The Cedar Falls native has coached at a multitude of different schools, but her collegiate career began when she was a 3-year starter and captain for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Randy was the greatest teammate I've ever been around because she was so unselfish.
It was post-grad that Randy Henderson attended Ohio University and her unexpected coaching career began.
I mean, I actually didn't think I would ever coach. And I got to volunteer for the Athens High School. And I had just had a great time. I had applied for a whole bunch of jobs that had nothing to do with basketball and only one basketball job. And with a graduate degree, it was the only job I got offered.
But it's her impact as a coach that's been the highlight of her career.
And basketball is more than just the game, you know, it's just about these young women that we get to be a part of their lives.
And she knew me well enough to be able to call me out when, you know, I wasn't doing things right. Yeah, I am a much better person today because of the relationship that I had with Randy.
Amongst all the places she has gone, it's her home, Iowa, that's always been at heart.
You know, I think at that time, they weren't having a lot of in-state kids staying home. Yeah, I think it was really important to Iowa and really important to her.
The former Big Ten champ shared with me it's surreal to be back in Carver Hawkeye Arena and hopes to add a few more of these to her resume. From Carver Hawkeye Arena, Colin Carruthers, DITV Sports.
The Iowa women's basketball team plays in their second to last game of the regular season tonight against Michigan. The Hawkeyes hit the road following a 67-65 loss to now number 2 ranked UCLA on Sunday. They'll look to rely on Lucy Olson to build on a February where she's averaging 24 points per game. Meanwhile, the Wolverines come into the game after winning 78-68 against Penn State. Both teams have already clinched berths in the Big Ten tournament, but seeding is still on the line. The game begins at 6 p.m. Central Time and will be streamed on Big Ten Plus. The men's basketball team was in action last night, however, as they fell on the road to Illinois. The Fighting Illini got the best of Iowa 81-61, while Iowa was led by Brock Harding with 16 points. Illinois' leading scorer collected 22 points and had 4 players score in double digits. However, Illinois defensively forced a very uncharacteristic day of turnovers out of the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, give credit to them. You know, they were active, they were physical, and turned us over 16 times and turned that into points.
The Hawkeyes have now lost 6 of their last 8 games and fallen to 15th place in the Big Ten standings. Right next to them at the standings is number 16 Northwestern, who they will next face on Friday. Now Spencer Lee has returned to Iowa to headline the main event of Flow Wrestling Night in America. The event pits some of the top wrestlers in the country against each other in a 10-match card. Lee will wrestle Masanosuke Ono this evening at Extreme Arena in Coralville. The former Hawkeye won silver at the Paris Olympics last summer, and Ono won the U20 and Senior World title. That's the rundown Hawkeye Athletics. I'll send it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Sam. I know I'm enjoying listening to all these new Hawkeye sports.
Yes, and a lot of big events happening. And speaking of big events, it is the birthday of the University of Iowa today, February 26th. So happy birthday to University of Iowa.
Yes, and thank you for joining us online or listening on KRUI 87.9 FM.
And we are here live from Iowa City every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 a.m. and online anytime at thedailyiowan.com.
For Ryan Lynch and Stan Kupris, I'm Izzy Thier.
For Jake Barrios and Felicity Menning, I'm Johnny Voltman. See you again Friday morning right here on DITV, and stay tuned for the update coming up right after the show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the update, your home for your local and nationwide news. We've got a full slate of Iowa City, Iowa, and nationwide news, along with updates from the White House and Capitol Hill.
Along with the latest from polls, keeping your facts straight and a look ahead for the rest of the week.
And thank you for joining us, folks, and welcome to the update, your home for news and politics.
From the local level to nationwide, we're keeping you up to date. I'm Jordan Tovar.
And I'm Johnny Voltman. And Jordan, I think we got the best gift, and it didn't have anything to do with politics. It's finally warm outside. I did not have to wear a winter coat today. I really enjoyed it. It was a wonderful day.
It was truly a beautiful day out there, Johnny. You know, one of my favorite expressions is saying, this is the kind of weather that gives you hope.
And it does, Jordan. And once we get into things, we'll see if there's hope. Who knows? So starting it off, Jordan, starting at the local level, what's going on in Iowa City?
Well, yeah, Johnny, you know, like I said, this is the kind of weather that gives you hope. And there's two candidates who have a lot of hope for themselves coming into next week. And we've been talking a lot about it these past few weeks. And now we are almost to a crucial day for Iowa City. In less than a week, Oliver Weilein and Ross Nusser will face off for the vacant District C spot on the Iowa City City Council. The election will take place on March 4th with the winner taking the seat. And this is happening because, if you recall last year, Andrew Dunn announced that he would vacate his spot in District C effective at the end of 2024. Earlier this month, a primary was held between three candidates, with Nusser and Weilein advancing from the group. Sharon DeGraw was also on the primary ballot but had dropped out prior to the primary election, though she did still gather a few votes. Something to note about these results, however, though, is that Weilein outgained his fellow candidates by more than double the second closest candidate in Ross Nusser.
Here in the state, there is another agenda as Kim Reynolds and the Republican-controlled Iowa House and Senate continue as they are in full swing. And as we are in week 6, let's take it back to week 5 last week. That was the cutoff for senators and representatives to request bills and joint resolution drafts to the legislature. Within the two chambers, the Iowa legislature has introduced 190 new bills, with 143 bills eligible for floor debate. Iowa House lawmakers advanced a bill on Monday. This just came in before we went on, which would revoke civil rights protections for transgender people from the Iowa Civil Rights Act. Narrowly passing out a subcommittee 2-1, the House slated an hour-and-a-half public hearing on Thursday at 9:30 a.m. While this was going on today, protesters gathered in the state capitol in opposition of this bill. These protesters had to be moved to the rotunda of the Capitol as some House members struggled to hear those speaking on the floor, and this actually led to the arrest of 4 people. A couple of bills were introduced in line with Governor Kim Reynolds' priorities she set in her 2025 condition of the state. The governor's energy bill was proposed and would invest in Iowa's energy sector to balance economic and environmental interests. Each year, the legislature looks to make additional funding available to school districts. The bill to raise funding from 2% to 2.25% passed with a vote of 58 to 35. Other bills could affect education here in Iowa. A House bill advanced to ban DEI offices in Iowa state agencies, cities, counties, and schools. The legislation follows efforts to remove required courses at Iowa public universities, including here at the University of Iowa. House File 365 proposes that if anyone illegally distributes fentanyl to someone who then dies from its use, then it will be charged as first-degree murder. The bill passed out of subcommittee on Thursday afternoon. And so a lot of bills, a very busy time. Usually this first month, this is where we see a lot of these bills get introduced, and then it seems like a dogfight all the way up until they break in June. So the Iowa legislature very much active and a lot going on here in the state level.
Certainly things heating up, Johnny. And you know, I talked about them earlier, and now we're actually going to send it over to him. So we'll send it over to Jace, who has our national update for this week.
Thanks, guys. And starting in California, all eyes are on Yosemite National Park as a major protest is taking place. A massive American flag is currently hanging upside down from El Capitan's Horsetail Fall, one of the most recognizable and viewable features of the park. Traditionally, an upside-down American flag represents a distress call for military bases or naval vessels. The flag is being flown in protest of massive federal firings across the country, including park rangers and forestry workers. Included in those firings is Iowa Park Ranger Brian Gibbs, who spoke at the Bernie Sanders event in Iowa City on Saturday.
I'm tired of wiping away my wife's tears and reassuring her that things will be okay for us and our growing little family that she's now carrying. This is the second time in under 5 years a dream job I have worked has been eliminated, and now I may need to uproot my family again.
With Yosemite receiving nearly 4 million visitors last year, the protest is sure to garner attention for the issue. And moving to Europe, Pope Francis's declining health is provoking discussions of a future successor. The 88-year-old Pope remains in critical condition. However, the Vatican has reported that his health has improved from the respiratory crisis he suffered on Saturday. The Catholic Church has officially begun prayers for the Pope's health while he has resumed work with the ministry. While his condition improves, murmurs of a future successor have begun. Nominees from America, Japan, Nigeria, and the Philippines have all emerged as frontrunners. Pope Francis's legacy of promoting inclusivity and acceptance in the church is a hot topic of discussion as future candidates walk across philosophically traditional and progressive lines. And while I'm not personally Catholic, I went to a Catholic high school, so I can personally say that the Pope's health is in my thoughts, and I like to think that he's in all of our thoughts right now. And I'm going to send it back to Johnny with some updates from Pennsylvania Avenue.
Thanks, Jason. Yes, thoughts for the Pope are here at the update. And Jordan, before we get into the White House, I'm just curious, have you ever been to the White House?
I actually haven't, but you know, maybe I'll be going soon. I don't know.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. I've been not in the White House, but I was like about 10 feet away from going into the White House. Would have been tackled by Secret Service, and I probably wouldn't be here right now. So that's why we leave it up to politicians and people to run this country. And speaking of which, we're going to be checking in on them in the Trump administration and what they're up to as of late.
President Trump is remaining busy talking to world leaders, including Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, ahead of a G7 conference call, and he welcomed French President Emmanuel Macron today to the White House. There, the two discussed the Russia-Ukraine war, the two countries' alliances, and once again, tariffs.
Anybody that would agree to allow this to happen to our country should be ashamed of themselves. No, the tariffs are going forward on time, on schedule.
And today marks the 3-year anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war. President Trump recently called Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator and blamed Ukraine for starting the war. Jason will have more on those claims and fact check, but the U.S. also joined Russia as the only UN countries to reject a proclamation to have Russia pull their troops out of Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky is focusing on enabling Ukraine to be at the negotiation table and working with other world leaders to end the war and his relationship with the United States.
That it will not have influence on other steps of the United States, and they will not cancel or stop or freeze any support, especially military support, to Ukraine.
Federal employees are wondering what comes next as Elon Musk's Doge agency requested federal employees to explain what they accomplished in the last week. If the employee does not respond, it will be seen as a resignation from their position. Agencies like the FBI have advised their employees not to respond to the email as the country waits to see what Musk will do. The actions by Doge are causing concerns on both sides of the aisle.
After 18 years of good performance, now it's shoddy performance, and you're going to have that black mark on your record. And so there is a way that you do this with dignity and respect for your federal employees.
Musk is facing a huge fight back as courts continue to block some of his orders, and federal employees are hitting him back with lawsuits.
So the White House staying very busy, and you know who else is staying busy, Jordan?
Congress.
Exactly. What do you got for us, Jordan?
Well, yeah, Johnny, it's a new week, and the clock is ticking even closer to a potential government shutdown. The current government spending bill expires on March 14th, and if a new deal isn't reached, then not only will the government shut down, so will other workers' jobs around the nation. While most have voiced concern over the matter, noted Trump ally and South African international Elon Musk said on the app formerly known as Twitter Sunday, quote, "Sounds great." If the government does shut down, what does this mean, Jordan? Well, I'm glad you asked, Jordan. Here's an explanation for you. Non-essential government workers are ordered to stay home until the new bill is approved. However, essential staff like security workers still have to work, albeit without pay. Things like national parks would cease operations as well until that new deal is reached. Fortunately, though, Social Security and Medicare will still happen no matter the result. Appointed as director of the FBI last week, Kash Patel has also been appointed as the chief of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. This organization deals with enforcing the laws around firearms, explosives, and arson, among other things. Democrats have raised concern about his appointment, however, with Patel making comments in the past saying that FBI and Department of Justice workers were, quote, government gangsters during the Biden administration. Patel is also known for spreading proven false conspiracies on his podcast about former President Joe Biden. Serving as deputy director for the FBI under Patel will be conservative conservative podcaster and former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino, who was just hired this week. Unlike Patel, however, Bongino will not have to undergo Senate confirmation to fill this position. And I was talking about Patel spreading false narratives, and I know just the guy who loves to bust those false narratives.
Yes, Jordan, I think JC's got his hands full this week, so hopefully he can get through it all. We're going to send it over to Jace with a little bit of fact check.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, and I personally got some big hands, but my hands are definitely full because today I'm going down a laundry list of egregious lies coming from the White House regarding the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Last week, President Trump began talks of ending the war in Ukraine by ceding hundreds of miles of contested territory to Russia, claiming that Ukraine started the war in the first place. For anyone born before February 2022, this is an out-and-out lie. We all watched as Russian forces lined the border with Ukraine. We all watched as Putin declared a, quote, strategic military operation in Ukraine. We all watched as Ukrainians bravely fought against a far superior military. To claim otherwise with little to no evidence is possibly the most blatant attempt to change the facts from a man who's made it his second favorite pastime behind playing golf on the taxpayer's dime. Trump is claiming that Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is preventing elections from taking place in the country. Again, this is a lie. Zelensky was elected to a 5-year term in 2019, and doing this, an election was planned for 2024, but the country's laws prevent an election from taking place during martial law. With hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of Ukrainians either fleeing the country or serving on the front lines, any attempt at an election will fail to reflect the will of the people. Here's a very simple fact I can check myself. The world is watching. If we are to abandon Ukraine, a strong message will be sent. What's to say we'll stick to our promises to protect Taiwan from China, South Korea from North Korea, Israel from Iran, NATO from Russia? If we are so willing to abandon a war we're not even fighting, how are our allies expected to trust us to fight for them when the time comes? How can we expect them to fight for us? If America wants to stop being the global superpower, then this is the quickest way to do it. Personally, I'm feeling tired of seeing all this, so I'm going to send it over to Jordan and Johnny to wrap us up so I can go have some sleepy time.
Well, I think after that it is some well-deserved sleepy time. Certainly a strong statement from Jace there.
Very strong statement, Jordan. And, you know, we talked about a lot of stuff, and I will say we did a really good job already covering about what's ahead, but I'm still going to just give a little bit of further insight of what we could see in the coming week outside of what we've already talked about. Capitol Hill, the battle to pass a national budget, like Jordan said, is continuing on as the March 14th deadline begins to rear its head over Capitol Hill. As we've talked about in prior weeks, both sides of the aisle are looking at the other one playing fair. However, partisan stances could clog up the process into passing a national budget as Democrats try to hold the current administration accountable for their executive actions, while Republicans continue to push Trump's agenda. Yet some of the moves by the Trump administration could dissuade certain Republicans, impacting that majority they have on both the House and Senate. Taking a step all the way back here in Iowa, it's a long way from D.C. to Iowa, it will be interesting to see where the Iowa legislature goes from here. With the vast majorities in the House and Senate, the right-leaning state House is already falling in line with other Republican-led states in targeting transgender rights, DI initiatives, and more. If we took notes from what we've seen in D.C., there is a real chance that the Iowa district courts and Supreme Court will have a lot to weigh into the future of the state, checking both the governor's executive power and the legislative power legislatures hold. And as I said, we already covered a lot of what I was going to put in. We talked about the budget, Iowa legislature, but then again, the wars in Ukraine, Israel, and Hamas. So much going on, but it's a good thing we're still here, Jordan.
For sure, Johnny. And I mean, you know, those things, you know, a lot of them just go hand in hand.
They do, and we will be hand in hand with you, and we'd like to thank you for tuning in to the update tonight. Report all your news and politics.
Tune in next week for more updates from the local level to the nationwide level.
From The Update, I'm Johnny Volman.
And I'm Jordan Tovar. Have a wonderful night.